punched him.
Holy shit, he's wearing shield back.
Oh, GG, man. Okay, a huge thanks to everyone who left a comment on the Shield Fighter Guide video. It's really exciting to see so many people interested in that playstyle. A lot of folks are asking for my thoughts on the buckler and on Shield Slam in particular. So I spent the last couple of days playing with these things exclusively, and let's just say I have some thoughts. This video is broken into two main parts. First, I'll do a closer look at the buckler and focus in on some of its nuances and a list of pros and cons. Then I'll talk more about Shield Slam and share my opinions on its use compared to other skills. As always, there's timestamps below. And thanks again for all your comments and questions. I'm happy to make content that's focused on the questions you have, because it encourages me to try builds that I don't think I would otherwise. Okay, here we go. Are you okay, man? Hey, are you okay? Hey, are you okay? Or are you just watching her sleep? That's creepy. As a reminder, I'm not an expert in the game. I don't do boss runs. I mostly just play solo. And my focus over the past few weeks has been on the heater shield. Sit in the roof. Oh, I'm almost dying to poison. Yikes. My challenge for the past few days has been to go deep on the buckler. I've been using it with other common gear and normals, just to see how it feels in PvE and in PvP. Let's get behind this warlock. Get to the feet. Wait for him. Oh, wow. GG, man. I should use my shield slam, but I didn't. Quick recap of the gear. I aim for the Crusader helm, heavy gauntlets, Grand Brigandine in common. This is uncommon, but common. Cloth pants, and adventure boots. There's some variations here, but generally speaking, I'm aiming for dex. I want to get a base dex of 20 or above, because that really helps with my shield mastery and counterattack. Combat. See if I can get two. Okay, should not go for two. Should wait for him. Spacing. I'd say that's two, spacing. Block, two. In a second win just in case. So the first thing I noticed when using the buckler is that it's way less forgiving than using larger shields. It's smaller and requires more precision than the heater in particular, which I've kind of gotten used to over the past few weeks. So the size and precision required by the buckler really affected my confidence level, which really changed how I felt about approaching combat in general. It makes sense, because looking at another player using a buckler, I could really see just how much of their body was exposed. Their feet, their head, their flank. It all seemed way more accessible to me as the opponent. That's the problem with the buckler, right? Just so easy to go over it. So I'm sure the players I was playing against felt the same way about me. It's a very small shield. Overall, I would say that this negatively affected my preferred block-first counterattack playstyle, since I wasn't even 50% sure that I was going to be able to block the first attack coming from my opponent. That was close. He knows how to play, that's for sure. Look at all the heals he had. So my first observation is, I think the buckler is more of a complementing item that you can use to try to block certain attacks, rather than try to block every attack. So if you're a player who prefers more spacing-oriented melee, like if you're more comfortable dancing on the edge of your opponent's attack range, then maybe you can include the buckler as a way to try to target certain opponent attacks and use it that way to gain advantage in combat. Okay, here we go. Thought I blocked that for sure. Worked. Got one more. GG, dude. Another thing I noticed is that the buckler is held a bit lower by the character, so it feels like you really need to move the mouse even more than you have to with other shields to get the buckler in the right spot. You can't do the half motion thing. You really have to move it a lot. Oh, there we go. This was especially noticeable when trying to block maces and other overhead weapons, where normally I would crouch and look up to block those overhead attacks. But with the buckler, it felt like this maneuver put me just out of their range, so my block actually wouldn't connect, and they were able to keep swinging in their combo uninterrupted. So that was bad. On the positive side, I definitely noticed how much faster my character could move, especially in combination with the Shield Mastery perk, which gives a movement speed bonus when you're in defensive stance. Okay, let's block it. Let's rush him. Speed boost. Oh, that's so fast, the rundown. The rundown is fast. So you get this 10% move speed bonus when your shield is up. And because of that, there was times I could close the gap faster than a lot of people expected, it felt like. Bad for you. Doesn't like this. Oh, that was a misplay on his part, I think. He's not happy about that. There were also a bunch of times where I was able to chase down and catch very fast opponents, and I could definitely feel the speed difference when my shield was up. I did a couple of speed tests where I just kind of ran the same corridor length with my shield in regular position and my shield in defensive position, and there was a noticeable difference in the speed there because of Shield Mastery. Shield Mastery, the movement speed bonus, definitely seems more effective with the buckler in defensive stance than the heater shield, I noticed. Tagged him once. My sprint is almost up. I'm gonna take my shirt and my top off. You did the same thing. Got you. So the buckler can really be a part of a light armor build that you can use to chase down a lot of the faster kiting players, like wizards and rogues, rangers and bards. That aspect of the playstyle was definitely a lot of fun. And yes, the buckler has the highest blocking power in the game, so I was never staggered by any enemy attacks. Even versus the heavy melee, I didn't encounter any barbarians who were running that perk that gives them additional impact power. So that was good. It definitely felt satisfying to stop a bunch of stronger attacks. Let's fight them. I'll warm all. This will be a test. See if I can keep him in the door. so slow, though. He knows it's slow. He's in the storm. He doesn't know what to do. That hit me. Shield slam. Plus a block. It even made fighting the Skelly champ pretty easy. Since the buckler will interrupt his combo, I did 2 separate flawless fights against the Skelly champ in base gear. And so if you're looking to farm golden keys, this is definitely a viable strategy. You can very easily block the Skelly champ attacks, and it makes fighting him pretty straightforward. There's no cheesing required. The buckler, in this case, is the cheese. Damn. But honestly, I struggled a lot with blocking reliability. I'm pretty new still at blocking and like understanding where my hitbox is. So, you know, other people are definitely better than me at this. But because the buckler hitbox is so much smaller, I felt that some of the more experienced players could very easily hit my head or hit my feet or hit my flank. This was especially noticeable when I was pushing on ranged players. More brutes incoming. Oh, they're all rangers. I'm in trouble. Or trying to block thrown projectiles. It feels like I was able to maybe block 25% of all incoming range damage, which is much worse than the coverage and block percentage I was able to get with the heater shield. Oh. Ooh, I'm one shot. I'm one shot. That's tough. I also really struggled against the longsword players. Since their initial stab can be really targeted, it feels like they too were really easily able to hit my head or hit my feet. Wait for it. He knows to jump high. He's pretty hurt. I'll go over shield slam. Yep. Block. Ooh, that was a good riposte, man. Good fight. Did he parry the shield slam? That's another risk of doing it with longswords. GG, buddy. Sword. Look at this guy. Uh-oh. I'm in trouble now. I'm in trouble. This guy was very good. So in high roller, high skill environments, number one, the melee players are way better. They're way better at jumping over your block or getting around your block, which makes using the buckler a lot harder. Number two, there are a lot more fast attacking players. Like there's a lot higher decks, a lot more daggers, a lot more faster attacks from players that are harder to block. And number three, there are way better ranged players, way better accuracy, way more annoying players who use throwing knives more effectively. So all this means that in high roller, relying on the buckler to take away a lot of that damage gets very, very dicey. I would be very reluctant to bring good gear into high roller and rely on my ability to block a lot of damage with the buckler in those high skill environments. You can definitely use it to complement a kit, but I wouldn't use it in the blocking first, counterattack kind of play that I'm more used to. gotta turn enough. So overall, what are some pros and cons to using the buckler? On the positive side, it's definitely light and fast. There is not the same movement speed penalty as other shields, and so overall I just felt faster with my shield out, which was great. In addition, there's also the speed boost you get from shield mastery. Being in defensive stance with shield mastery definitely felt even faster. You get that extra speed boost while blocking. The buckler also has the highest blocking power in the game, so it was definitely a lot of fun to interrupt the attacks of the heavy melee. It also made blocking the skelly champ in particular really easy. It was really trivial to kill the skelly champ with base kit, base gear, like squire kit stuff. So if you're looking to farm golden keys by killing as many skelly champs as possible, the buckler is definitely the way to go there. And like I said, it seems like the buckler complements a spacing style melee combat where you're not all in, you're not totally in the face of your opponent, you're more on the edge of their range, and then you use the buckler to target certain attacks or certain parts of their combo that you know you can block reliably, and then use that to gain the advantage. Cool. On the negative side, man, the shield is just so small. It's very small and precise, and that took a lot of getting used to. I definitely died more often than I would have liked trying to block enemy attacks. Because the shield is so small, it requires even more movement of the mouse, even more dramatic mouse movement to get the shield in the right position, and that took some getting used to. I'm not even sure if I fully got used to it, and that's after having weeks of practice with the heater shield, which already requires me to turn the mouse a lot. So there was a lot of precision required for blocking, which may be extra discouraging if you're just starting out using a shield. I found it was pretty bad versus ranged. Even in defensive stance, I'm sure that my feet were totally exposed, and if I was trying to block my feet, my head was totally exposed. Pushing on ranged is very difficult. Because the shield is so small, it was also pretty bad against longsword. With a larger shield, I don't seem to have as much trouble with the longsword. It's easier to block each of their attacks, but because that first longsword stab is so precise, I found that majority of the times, good longsword players were able to either hit my head or hit my feet. It's also bad against daggers. It's kind of the same thing as the longsword. Daggers, either fast thrusts or fast slashes or fast overheads. I felt that each dagger in its own way could be used against the buckler effectively. And so against a good dagger player, I wasn't really able to block a lot of dagger shots reliably. And that was a problem. Overall, I think there's a big risk in trying to rely on the buckler in high roller or other high skill environments, just because it seems to be so disadvantaged against so many different kinds of enemy damage that I would be very reluctant to gamble a good kit in high roller, thinking that I was going to be able to reliably block or take away enemy damage using the buckler. So yeah, fun to play with, fun to mess around with. I wouldn't recommend it for new players. I wouldn't recommend it in high roller. But of course, if you're better than I am at blocking, then have at it. Maybe you'll have better results. Okay, now some quick thoughts on Shield Slam. This isn't the first time I've tried running Shield Slam, but it's definitely the most sustained playtime I've spent with the skill. And long story short, I really don't think it's that good. Let me explain why. Shield Slam. I missed. He's healing. He's got moves. Okay, he's down. Shield Slam, I don't think it's gonna work, guys. I don't think it's good. This guy had volcanic ash. Quick disclaimer, I only used it in solo lobbies. I don't play trios, so I didn't experiment with it in that context, where potentially I can see it being way more useful. So what does it do? Shield Slam allows your character to use the shield to strike, basically. It's similar to the last attack in the Skelly Champ combo. He'll do 1, 2, and then his third attack is this big kind of shield swipe. Like, that's what it does, basically. The attack itself also acts like a block. So if you time it right, you can block and hit your opponent with the same move, which is kind of interesting. Shield slam. Plus a block. GG, man, that was good. Each shield has a different attack pattern. The buckler in particular is like almost like a left uppercut. From my experiments, each of the shields do the same amount of base damage, 25 base damage, plus whatever your strength modifier is, and any other bonuses you might get from your gear or equipment. When you actually land the hit, Shield Slam will actually knock your opponent back by a significant amount, which can be useful if you want to get them away from you, or if you want to try to knock them into some traps or something. That worked. Pushed him a little bit. But overall, I gotta say, I don't think this skill is worth choosing. It just isn't applicable for use in the majority of situations. So after using it for a bunch of sessions, there were 5 main problems that stood out with Shield Slam. 1, it has a very short range. This makes it really easy to miss, even if you've taken a half step back from your opponent. There was lots of cases where I thought that I would use it in hit, and I would end up whiffing, and it would totally throw me off. Very short range. Ready for the Shield Slam? I missed. Shield Slam. I missed. BOC. Blocked it. Oops. Space, 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 space. Oh, I missed my Shield Slam. Darn. Shield Slam. Oh, I wasted it. Oh, I got him with the Shield Slam. 2, it really doesn't do that much damage. It makes it actually hard to kind of use it as a killing blow or a killing strike, which I'm not sure if it's intended for in the first place, but the fact that it does only 25 damage meant that I couldn't really rely on it to replace one of my regular attacks, which is a problem. Wait for him. Shield Slam. Oh, that kind of worked. GG, man. 3 is I found that there was like a slight attack delay. Like I would click my button, I have it on my mouse button. I would click the mouse button, and then there would still be this half second of delay. So that meant trying to time it according to my enemy attack to try to block and attack at the same time was really dicey. Shield Slam is up. Sprinting. Shield Slam. I clicked it. I clicked it. I swear I clicked it. Number 4 is the knockback effect, was typically not what I wanted to happen. It usually doesn't make sense to push an opponent away from you in a melee situation. So then you just have to kind of close the gap again. Like I would do so much work to close the gap on my opponent to like attack them, to hurt them, and then I would Shield Slam and they would just push them away. And I found that like most of the time that's not what I wanted. I didn't want to give them more space. I didn't want to make it easier for them to get away from me. So that was one issue, using it in kind of like a solo one-on-one situation. Shield Slam. I hit him. Get him away from me a little bit. Number 5 is the Shield Slam attack itself is blockable. So if you hit an opponent who's in defensive stance, basically the skill is wasted, which made it even more difficult to use it reliably. That's it. Try Shield Slam. Oh, he blocked it. GG's, brother. GG's. Now, I gotta say, in trios, yes. Against a buffed opponent, maybe you want to move that opponent off the front line, or if you're getting totally spammed by a rogue and you want to get them off of you, I can totally see a utility here. In trios, more often. In solos, maybe when you're getting... If you're getting landmined by a rogue, maybe you want to get them off of you. But it just didn't seem like those situations came up that often, and certainly not useful enough to take up one of my only 2 skill slots and replace Second Wind or Adrenaline Rush or even Victory Strike. I can imagine Victory Strike, which would load up my attack, that just feels a little more... I imagine Victory Strike would be a little more reliable and useful than Shield Slam. Shield Slam. I missed. Oh. I'm dead. Oh, I blocked it. Number 2. Number 3. was so close. I have 1 health. I feel like that was not fair for him. I should be dead. So again, thanks so much for all of the video comments and feedback. I'm just starting out on this channel, and it's been really great to have so many people share their thoughts and recommend content for me to try or recommend ways I can improve. It feels like there's a lot of really cool people in this community. Like I said, I don't think I would have tried this buckler shield slam combo if it wasn't for all the recommendations. So thanks so much for that. Good luck with all your blocking, and I'll see you in the next one.